Welcome to New Light Living podcast with Ulrika Sullivan. Have you been feeling exhausted, overthinking your every action, and questioning your next goal? What if there's more to life than that? What if your analytical mind took a back seat and you just knew what was right for you? Ulrika Sullivan's multitasking, up in her head, stressful corporate career left her feeling like she was living on autopilot. She didn't know who she truly was. A complete career shift was carefully orchestrated by the universe to open her up to the deepest level of her soul and purpose. This led to a life-changing point of no return epiphany. There is an undeniable feeling of clarity and way forward available to us when we connect with our inner voice, heart's desire, and body consciousness. You are invited to expand beyond the rerun patterns of your mind and shift into heart-centered living. In Wisdom Beyond What You Know, how to shift from being driven by the mind to living from the heart and intuition, Ulrika presents 7 essential, realistic, and actionable inner shifts to connect you to the universal wisdom of your true self through commitment, self-awareness, sovereignty, embodiment, manifestation, and spiritual practice to stay centered and in flow with the universe. Discover the 7 transformational shifts to help you expand beyond what your mind knows. Take action today towards multidimensional living through the heart and intuition, just in time for the new future. WisdomBeyondBook.com. This episode is the first of a 3-part series where I get to be a guest on my own podcast. I'm being interviewed by the amazing Patricia Lintner. So stay with us to learn about where I got the idea to write the book, who I wrote the book for, and some of the big shifts that I talk about in the book. Are you ready? Let's dive in.
Yeah. So, Ulrika, I wanted to know about your decision. When there must be a seed that was planted to write a book, and I would love to know, when was this? When did you come across this? Did you come across this idea of writing a book, and who did you have in mind as your audience when you wrote this book?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. I have always been interested in words and reading and books. So books for me and writing comes very easily to me. So, but for this particular endeavor, because I call it an endeavor, and the timing of that really was an inner calling, if you will. And for anyone who's been having some sort of inner calling knows that it's not really a choice that we make with our mind. It's a choice that comes from the heart. So I truly believe, for me, this book is coming into the world in the exact right timing. So for me, there was not really a decision. It was, okay, it's time to do this. And the person I wrote this book for is someone that knows or feels that there is more. There's more to life than just day by day go frustrated or exhausted, or even just feeling that inner resistance, that something more is there for you. So this is for mostly, I wrote it mostly for women, because that's just my own experience of telling the story of a complete shift in life from being a corporate person with a job, employment, to making a complete shift into what I'm here to do in this world, which is being a guide, being a spiritual teacher, an author. So I think, on your question, how did I know it was the right time? Now is the right time. I just knew it. And that's kind of the essence of the book as well. How do we trust that? I just know it. And that's what I ended up writing the book about.
Okay, so if I got it right, it is partly your story. And this is sort of a gift to all of those who are in a similar uh, experience, transition, journey, if I could put it that way. And so you mentioned your experience from transitioning into a completely new direction. And I would really love to learn a little bit more about this. What did you do, and what were your big learnings on this path?
Yes. The big rock bottom, as I call it, was, and many of us are going through a rock bottom at some point in our lives, right? If I back up a little bit. And for me, it was in the work setting. And it could be any other situation or setting for other people. But for me, it was, within the work environment, my career, etc. And that's where the rock bottom happened. But it doesn't have to be for this book to be relevant to you. It doesn't have to be related to your career. It's just a symbol of a pinnacle of a transformation when something just is put in motion to start happening. And that's what happened to me. I got my work situation changed suddenly. Mm-hmm. And that put me in a situation where I had to decide whether I would see that situation as a failure, or if I saw it as an opportunity to truly make a leap into something completely different. And I think that story is not uncommon, right? But what it led to for me is the difference between being what I call driven by the mind for so long. And what I mean with that is that, following your past experiences, or following what you've been taught, following what society is expecting of you, or just that template of trusting the external world, if you will, on your decisions, into making a leap into trusting your inner world. And that's really the shift. The major shift here is to move from trusting the outer world with and seeking the answers there, to trusting our inner world and knowing, just picking up the answers there instead. So yeah, I think my story is interwoven within the book, but it gives examples, basically, and examples can be very relevant, in other situations as well for the readers. So it is to kind of look at your own situation and allow that to, unfold in a way. And it doesn't have to be just the way it did for me, obviously.
Yeah, so thank you for this amazing and really detailed answer. And so it was this shift from the outside to the inside. And maybe, as you said, that you were mind driven to heart driven, which is, it sounds so beautiful and so maybe easy. Just shift from the outside to the inside, from the head to the heart. May I ask you if there are any challenges that you came across on this way from the outside to the inside, from mind-driven to heart-driven, or was it pretty easy for you?
So there are challenges with this transition, but I prefer to see it as opportunities for growth. Challenges, we all have to go through challenges to grow, right? And one of the things that I feel could be some resistance around is to free ourselves from what other people think, or free ourselves and do something differently from what we're taught in the past. Not worrying what other people will think is also a challenge, because we are attached to others and our family, friends, our workplaces, et cetera, and in there lies a challenge to turn the focus from all of that to what ourselves and what our true self is feeling is right for us. And that can be a challenge in the just as simply as we may have to say no to things we have said yes in the past. Yeah. And that in itself can feel like a challenge, because we're out of our comfort zone, but it's for the good. So that's why I'm seeing it as an opportunity at the end of the day, because even though we may have to go through some resistance to get to our truth, it's for the good. So yeah, that's and any of us have maybe reflected upon or experienced times in our lives when we had to do something differently and how that felt in the moment. But now it's like, oh, this happened for the good. So yeah. And I think the biggest discovery in this process is really to get to know our own inner conversation about all of these things.
You started in the beginning by saying that this is the right time, that a book like this is so needed, and it is exactly the right time for your book. And I can only agree. And I'm so happy that I know you and that I soon will be able to read this book. So thank you so much, Ulrika, for this amazing interview.